Good morning, everyone. So, today we are going to talk about the man, the legend, Heian Tofukuji. I have some pots that we're going to look at, and then I'll tell you a little bit of history on this gentleman. Let's get into it. So, Heian Tofukuji, he actually originally was a part of a comb making family. And with the modernization of Japan, that business was kind of declining, so he decided to branch out. And he decided to become a bonsai pot maker. Now, he ended up becoming one of the most famous Japanese bonsai pot artists in the world. And now his works are highly sought after. So it's a pretty cool transformation he went under. He made a lot of small pots, and he also, mostly shohin pots is what his specialization was. And he was really known for the vast variability of clays that he used. Because he was quite poor during his career, he would have to borrow or share kilns with others. And this was kind of created variability in his glazes a bit. I even heard that in making his clay bodies, to give it that groggy appearance in there, you have to put pre-fired clay. That's what grog is. It's pre-fired clay. Kind of gives that grit in the clay. Heard he actually smashed up old antiques that were not useful anymore and mixed them in. So that's kind of a cool little side note. And he was also quite famous for his glaze work. His greens were probably his most sought after. So here's a Canton green, kind of mixed with some crystallization of, let's see if we can see those crystals in there. There they are on the bottom. That's how it drips down on the bottom. There's one of his many kiln chops. Very groggy clay, which is a characteristic of his older clays. At least that's what I've heard. But yeah, his greens are probably his most well-known. So he was inspired to make these kind of green glazes from Canton. Cantonese greens, this is a very characteristic color made in China, or in Canton, which is the southern part of China. And he became famous for some of those glazes in particular. And just so you know, good old tea, this would be a Cantonese green. So that actually is a Chinese pot right there. And here's, he actually made quite a few mame, or very teeny tiny bonsai pots. This has a nice, kind of like light blue glaze on it. Kiln chop is a little hard to read. It's in there somewhere though. And the reason why there's kind of this rust looking kind of residue on there is, I think back then they would use metal mesh. Today we use mostly plastic, and that metal would rust and kind of ooze out onto the bottom. So you see that on sometimes some older pots. But yeah, I think this is my small beginnings of my collection. But because of how rare and highly sought after those pots are, it's quite difficult to acquire these. Like that red, the cinnabar, that kind of mixes in there. So his multicolored glazes, he was pretty well known for. So let's kind of zoom in there. You can see there's a red underneath, and it looks like he put a green glaze, overglaze on top. And you could also see that patina on the bottom starting to accumulate. Very nice. Yeah, so it's a little history on Heian Tofukuji. And one other thing, the reason, so Tofukuji is actually not his artist name, not his real name. His, yeah, so, and that comes from the Tofukuji temple, which was close to where he worked. And I don't have his trident maple chop, but he has a very famous trident maple chop on the bottom of his pots, kind of central usually. And the reason for that is Tofukuji Temple was famous for its trident maples, and I think that kind of inspired him to make a chop that represented that. But anyways, that is the legend, Heian Tofukuji. If you want to hear more about him, I could do more research, but I thought I just would give you guys a little introduction into some of his works. One final note, this is a block carved, so he actually had to excavate this to make this pot. He was known for utilizing many different techniques, so he was kind of a savant of sorts. He could get really good at all kinds of styles quite quickly. So that's also why people love his work. All right, everyone. It was nice hanging. Well, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later.